Sunday night, Snark Squad.
You know the exact feeling I am talking about. It is currently the witching hour.
Oh, it is the worst hour.
It really is. That
Yeah.
incredibly specific, agonizing moment on a Sunday evening where the weekend has officially just flatlined.
Time of death.
Right, yeah.
You're just staring at the clock, watching those final 5 minutes of freedom slip through your fingers before Monday comes kicking down the front door to ruin your life.
It is the absolute peak of the Sunday scaries.
It is the ultimate countdown to chaos. And honestly, my heart rate is already matching the tempo of a suspense thriller.
You are actively mourning a weekend you barely even had time to enjoy, honestly. Just regretting the massive list of household chores you completely ignored in favor of the couch.
Oh, don't remind me about the laundry.
And you're just bracing yourself for the impending doom of a 7 a.m. alarm. It is an emotional hostage situation, and the only ransom the universe will accept is your rapidly depleting sanity. Oh my gosh, literally a hostage situation. But babes, welcome back. We hope you've had an amazing weekend, you beautiful, beautiful babes.
Yes, welcome back to the chaos.
We are so happy to be here with you, just hiding from our responsibilities together in this safe space.
The only safe space left.
Exactly. And because the work week is looming over us like a dark, aggressively professional storm cloud, we have officially decided that mimosas are on deck tonight.
Plural. Many of them.
We are drinking them, we are romanticizing them, we are making them an integral part of our lifestyle right now.
Let us be crystal clear regarding the beverage situation, though.
Yeah.
We are drinking cheap champagne out of a biological necessity for survival.
Excuse me.
I mean it. This is not a celebratory brunch scenario. This is an evening triage.
No. I'm declaring this 100% self-care. I am a passionate advocate for wellness. Okay?
Wellness. Really? Yes. There is orange juice in this glass. That means there's vitamin C. That means I am actively fighting off free radicals, boosting my immune system and hydrating my cells while we sit here and judge reality television.
The level of delusion you operate under is honestly inspiring. It really is.
It is functionally a health drink. I am practically glowing from the inside out with sheer vitality.
You poured a microscopic thimble of orange juice into a massive chalice of sparkling wine. The orange juice is purely decorative at this point.
It's all about the intention.
It exists solely for color theory. The champagne is strictly for emotional support because tomorrow morning we have to put on our scrubs, walk into our respective dental clinics, and pretend we actually have our lives together.
Oof, do not remind me. Snark Squad, if you are new here, we are both dentists, but we work at entirely separate practices. And my upcoming week is already shaping up to be an absolute emotional roller coaster.
You tell.
Okay, so I was looking at my clinical schedule, and I have this one patient coming in tomorrow morning for a massive, complicated wisdom tooth extraction.
Ouch. The impacted ones.
Yes, horrible. But the thing is, I am already so emotionally entangled in her personal saga.
Why does this always happen to you?
I can't help it. She came in for her consultation last week, absolutely sobbing in the chair. And not because of the impending surgery, but because her ex-boyfriend, the man who was supposed to drive her home after she receives heavy anesthesia, just dumped her.
Wait, dumped her right before oral surgery?
Yes, via text message. A text message.
Okay, that is a textbook example of cowardice. The timing is surgical in its cruelty.
Right. So obviously, my clinical boundaries completely vanished, gone. I spent 45 minutes holding her hand, validating her feelings, and explaining to her that she does not need a man who communicates like a frightened teenager.
You are inevitably going to get your medical license revoked for practicing unlicensed psychological therapy in a sterile clinical environment.
I am healing her soul. But now my anxiety is spiking because, who is going to drive this poor girl home tomorrow?
Probably an Uber.
I am literally half a second away from offering to order her a premium rideshare service and buying her a massive pint of premium ice cream out of my own pocket. I cannot handle the heartbreak. The impacted molar is the absolute least of her problems right now.
You are too emotionally invested. Meanwhile, my week is shaping up to be a stunning testament to the absolute failure of natural selection.
Oh, boy.
What happened? I have a patient coming in on Tuesday who decided to try a quote-unquote DIY teeth whitening hack she discovered on a viral social media video.
Oh no, please tell me it wasn't the baking soda and lemon juice abrasive nightmare again. My enamel aches just thinking about it.
I sincerely wish it was baking soda. That would be a vacation. No, this absolute genius used household hydrogen peroxide, mixed it into a paste with crushed up charcoal briquettes.
Wait, from a grill?
Yes, charcoal briquettes she stole from her father's outdoor grill, and then she purchased a cheap UV blacklight off the internet to activate the mixture in her mouth.
Oh my gosh, I am physically cringing. My soul is actively leaving my physical body right now.
It gets worse. Her gingival tissue is currently the color of a rare steak.
Stop.
And her enamel has been stripped so thin it is practically transparent. She came in for an emergency consult weeping that her teeth feel, spongy.
Spongy, no.
Spongy. Human teeth should never, under any biological circumstances, be described using the word spongy.
That is a nightmare.
So tomorrow, I get to spend 3 exhausting hours doing restorative damage control simply because a 19-year-old influencer with porcelain veneers told her to put barbecue supplies into her oral cavity.
That right there. That is exactly why I drink the healthy vitamin C packed mimosas, the overwhelming stress of the human condition.
It's exhausting.
It really is. And speaking of unhinged human behavior, babes, it is time for your messy weekly horoscopes.
Brace yourselves.
Snark Squad, grab your drinks because the stars are looking incredibly chaotic this week, and we are here to deliver the cosmic forecast.
Let us expedite this process. I will read the stars, you brace for impact.
Okay, fire signs. So that's Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. Listen to me very carefully. Do not text your ex.
Do not do it.
Put the cellular device down, give it to a trusted friend, lock it in a biometric safe. Whatever you do, do not send that vague, thinking of you text at 2 a.m.
It is a trap.
However, absolutely go out and purchase that overpriced $12 iced latte with the premium oat milk and the lavender cold foam.
Financially irresponsible, but emotionally necessary.
Exactly. You desperately deserve the little treat. You do not deserve the lingering emotional damage of a toxic situationship. Soft girl energy only this week.
All right, Earth signs. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. I need you to understand something very fundamental about your current reality.
Uh-oh.
Human resources is watching you.
Oh my gosh, they always are.
They have the server receipts. They know exactly what you were typing on the company messaging system, so keep the group chat entirely professional. Stop rolling your eyes in the corporate video meetings when your middle manager starts rambling about synergy.
The eye rolls are deadly.
And for the love of everything rational, stop blind copying people on aggressive email chains just to prove a point. Your workplace drama is reaching a critical mass, and you need to deploy some serious tactical diplomacy immediately.
Oh, the earth signs are absolutely sweating right now. They know what they did. Okay, air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius.
The chaotic ones?
The flirtation energy is completely off the charts for you this week. You are going to accidentally make extended eye contact with a vaguely attractive stranger in the produce aisle, and suddenly, like, your brain is planning a theoretical destination wedding.
Typical air sign behavior.
Lean into it. Wear the cute outfit, bat your eyelashes, cause a little harmless trouble in the wild. An unexpected win has come your way, probably in the form of a free bakery item or a ridiculous over-the-top compliment.
And finally, water signs. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces.
Oh, my poor water signs.
You are going to make at least 3 terrible, life-altering decisions before Thursday afternoon. I apologize, but it is mathematically guaranteed by the planetary alignment. You are drowning in your own feelings. You are aggressively romanticizing a past that never actually existed.
So true.
And you are probably going to impulse buy a massive piece of furniture you absolutely do not need and definitely lack the spatial reasoning to assemble yourself.
Put down the Allen wrench?
Embrace the mess. Weep openly if you must, but whatever you do, do not cut your own bangs. I repeat, step away from the scissors.
Step away from the scissors. That is universal life-saving advice right there.
It really is.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of making terrible, time-consuming decisions, before we started recording tonight, somebody, and I am not going to point fingers, but they are sitting directly across the studio desk from me, made the fatal error of opening TikTok.
I will not be shamed for falling victim to a highly engineered algorithm. I freely admit it.
So we're so lost in there.
I fell into a massive, inescapable scrolling spiral roughly 20 minutes before we hit the record button. It is scientifically impossible to stop watching animal videos. The dopamine loops involved in scrolling from one canine video to the next must be studied by behavioral neurologists.
It's an algorithmic black hole. You start out with such innocent intentions. It is just like one quick video of a wholesome, floppy-eared golden retriever carrying a stuffed animal that looks exactly like him.
The purest form of joy.
And your heart just melts into a puddle. You send it to your mother, you send it to the group chat. You are experiencing pure, unadulterated serotonin.
But then the machine learning senses your psychological vulnerability. It pivots seamlessly.
It traps you.
Suddenly, I am watching a completely silent, deeply unnerving video of an orange cat sitting on top of a refrigerator, just staring with pure, unadulterated judgment directly into the camera lens.
Cats are so judgmental.
It is looking directly into my soul, cataloging my every character flaw, and I am paralyzed. I am actively being psychologically profiled by a feline.
And before you even register what is happening, you are in the weird deep end of the internet. You have somehow transitioned away from domestic pets and into the realm of tiny aesthetic farm animals.
The algorithm is ruthless.
I am talking about the miniature cows, the Highland cows, with the perfect fluffy bangs that looks like they go to a high-end salon in Beverly Hills.
They have better hair than most humans.
The baby goats wearing tailored pajamas and jumping on miniature trampolines. Like, how does a 15-second piece of media warp the space-time continuum so severely that an entire chronological hour just vanishes from your life?
It functions exactly like a temporal anomaly. You blink, 45 minutes evaporate from your lifespan, and you suddenly possess an overwhelming, illogical urge to sell your suburban home, purchase an acre of rural land, and start an emotional sanctuary for miniature donkeys.
It is so true. I want a mini donkey so bad right now. And let it be known for the official record, Snark Squad, we are both ride-or-die pet people. We have our own fur babies sleeping right outside this studio door as we speak. So, hear me now. Pet slander of any kind will not be tolerated on this show. If you do not respect the animals, you can honestly unsubscribe right now.
I will personally investigate and report your negative comments.
Exactly. But we have to pull ourselves out of the mini cow spiral because tonight we have a massive mission.
The mess is calling.
Babes. We've got marriages, friendships, and plenty of mess to unpack, so let's get into it. Snark Squad, our objective for this evening is to completely deconstruct Part 1 of the Huntsville Season 11 reunion.
It was a structural disaster from the first frame.
We are analyzing the footage, we are reading the Reddit threads, and we are breaking down exactly why these core friendships are ending, which marriages are mathematically doomed to fail, and the underlying psychology driving all of this chaos.
We are diving headfirst into episode 14, Destiny or Divorce. And let me just establish the geographical and energetic scene for the listeners.
Please do, because it was wild.
The cast has left the familiar humidity of Huntsville, Alabama, and traveled to Los Angeles to sit down with the executive producer, Carlos King, for the first part of this highly anticipated post-season sit-down. And right out of the gate, the production chaos was palpable through the screen.
The backstage mess. The absolute lack of budget vibes going on in those first 5 minutes had me pacing my living room.
It was startling.
They are in Los Angeles, supposedly the glamorous epicenter of television production, and it looked like the crew was setting up craft services in an abandoned industrial warehouse.
Very grim.
Kimmi is wandering around the set, throwing a completely justified fit because she does not even have a couch to sit on while she waits for her hair and makeup.
I need a couch. Go get my couch. The diva energy was radiating off of her, but analytically speaking, I entirely understood the grievance.
Oh, I would be mad too.
They are on season 11. They are the foundational anchor of this entire network, and she is being informed that the air conditioning system is not functioning. It is Los Angeles. The ambient temperature is hot, and you are forcing these women to sit in full, heavy glamour makeup, trapped in restrictive gowns, in a room that is actively pushing 80 degrees. That constitutes a hostile work environment.
A completely hostile environment. But wait, let me push back on this a little bit. Do you think production does this intentionally?
Intentionally sabotaging the HVAC system.
Yeah. Like, do they purposefully put them in uncomfortable, hot, chaotic backstage environments just to agitate them so they walk out onto the stage already annoyed and ready to fight?
That is a fascinating psychological theory. Temperature regulation is directly linked to emotional volatility.
Right. I'm always cranky when I'm hot.
If you want a cast to argue aggressively, putting them in a sweltering room without proper seating is a highly effective, albeit unethical way to lower their frustration tolerance.
It's producer manipulation at its finest.
And speaking of low frustration tolerance, we must address Martel.
Oh my gosh, this suit.
He flew first class from Huntsville to Los Angeles, which, fine, flex your generational wealth, but he arrives at the venue and casually mentions that his custom reunion suit is somehow stuck in Paris.
How? Please explain the geographic logistics of this to me.
I cannot.
You are a grown man. You know you are filming a nationally televised high-stakes reunion. You flew from the American South to the American West Coast. At what point in that direct trajectory does your checked luggage take a scenic detour to the Charles de Gaulle Airport in France?
It defies all known laws of aviation logic. There is no connecting flight to LAX that routes through Europe.
Yeah.
He is actively making Marcus run around to local luxury malls in Los Angeles trying to purchase a last-minute replacement suit hours before cameras roll. It was a comedy of structural errors before they even stepped onto the soundstage.
So chaotic.
But once they finally did get out there under the lights, we have to talk about the fan feedback, because the Snark squad on Reddit was not holding back, and the technical issues were glaring.
The Reddit threads were catching fire, and rightfully so. One of our analytical besties in the comments, Presentation Left 3438, pointed out something that was driving me completely insane for the entire hour.
The audio sync?
Yes.
The audio
Their
sync.
broadcast delay. It was akin to watching a poorly dubbed foreign cinema piece.
Exactly.
The visual of their lips moving was completely detached from the audio, which was arriving a full half-second later. For a television network of this scale, experiencing a chronic audio delay on your marquee reunion event is an astonishing failure of quality control.
It was so distracting.
It actively removed me from the tension every single time a cast member raised their voice.
I thought my smart TV was malfunctioning. I was checking my Wi-Fi router. I was like, is it me? No, it's the network. And then you have Carlos King.
Ah, Carlos.
We love Carlos. He is an absolute reality TV icon, but we need to have a serious conversation about his moderation style.
As Puzzle-Headed Fox 839 pointed out on Reddit, the pacing was atrocious.
So bad. There were too many commercial interruptions, not enough sustained dialogue, and Carlos was asking interrogative questions that were legitimately the length of a Russian literary novel.
A novel. It would be this massive three-part compound question with subclauses and historical footnotes.
A filibuster, really.
He would say something like, going back to season 4, when this specific event happened, and tying it into episode 8 of this current season, when you made this specific comment, how does that historical context make you feel about what was just said today? And what is your non-negotiable deal breaker moving forward?
By the time he finishes, they've forgotten their own names.
Like, Carlos, my brain is tired. The cast looked physically exhausted trying to track the timeline of the inquiry. Just ask one direct question, let them answer it, and move on. We do not need an entire theatrical intermission between the beginning and the end of a sentence.
Let's examine the mechanics of why a producer does that, though. Carlos is utilizing cognitive overload.
Wait, really? Is that a real tactic?
Absolutely. When you ask a reality star a massive multi-layered question, their prefrontal cortex has to work overtime to remember all the subpoints while simultaneously formulating a defensive answer.
Oh, wow.
It exhausts their mental filters, which makes them far more likely to slip up and reveal a genuine, messy truth. It is a brilliant interrogation tactic, even if it makes for frustrating television pacing.
Oh, that makes so much sense. He is trying to short-circuit their PR training. Well, despite the technical glitches and the exhausting interrogations, the energy on that stage was incredibly tense from the moment the cameras turned on.
You could cut the tension with a scalpel.
And the absolute winner of the I Am Being Held Here Against My Will award goes to Tisha.
Her facial expressions were a masterclass in weaponized silence.
They really were.
From the very first wide shot, before Carlos even finished his introductory monologue, the camera operators make sure to capture Tisha radiating an energy that suggested she wanted to incinerate the entire studio using only her mind.
The resting bitch face was legendary. Every single eye roll was perfectly framed. She was broadcasting an aura that explicitly said, I am contractually obligated by my network agreement to sit in this chair, but I will absolutely not pretend to enjoy any of your company.
She came in so incredibly hot.
And that ambient hostility bled into every single segment, especially when Carlos pivoted to the first major marital autopsy of the evening. Kimmi and Maurice.
I need everyone to prepare themselves because this specific conversation caused my blood pressure to skyrocket. We have officially entered the soft hands era.
The phrase soft hands era is going to echo through reality TV history.
It is a permanent fixture in the lexicon now.
Let's break down exactly how we got here. So Maurice starts complaining to Carlos that the core issue in his marriage is physical intimacy. He states that he originally wanted to be intimate 5 times a week, maybe even multiple times a day.
Which is biologically ambitious for a working professional, but I digress.
Right, and he is complaining that Kimmi wants more quality time with him. But Maurice's condition is that if he grants her extra time, say an extra evening a week, those hours must be contractually designated as sex days.
It's a transactional nightmare. He is attempting to negotiate physical intimacy as if he is structuring a corporate merger.
It is so gross.
If I allocate 4 hours of Q3 to emotional quality time, my return on investment must be immediate, guaranteed physical gratification. It is so deeply unromantic, so fundamentally disconnected from how female desire actually operates, that it makes my skin crawl.
Same.
He is treating his wife like a vending machine, where the currency is his mere presence.
Right. But here's where it gets fascinating. Kimmi fires back with the ultimate reality check. She looks at him and says, look, back in the day when we first got together, you used to build things. You laid floors, you laid carpet, you put up wooden cabinets.
The manual labor days.
She explains that she used to come into a room, watch him doing manual blue-collar labor, and that physical exertion was a massive psychological turn-on for her.
A completely common psychological trigger, yes.
But now he's a wealthy attorney, sitting behind a polished desk, and she claims he has grown into his soft hands era.
The absolute vacuum-sealed silence that fell over the room when she delivered that writ, it was historically devastating.
The audible gasp in my living room.
And what makes it worse is that Maurice tried to logically defend it. He started rambling, saying, well, I always liked the idea of creating things, I just never liked the actual physical building part.
Missing the point entirely.
Maurice, my guy, you are missing the entire point. She is explicitly telling you that she was attracted to the rugged, hardworking, sweat equity version of you. And you are sitting there with a freshly buffed manicure arguing about marital intimacy quotas.
It was incredible television. But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. Let me push back on Kimmi's logic for a second.
Please do.
Is it entirely fair for Kimmi to hold him to that standard? People evolve in their careers. You can't expect your husband, who worked hard to become a successful lawyer, to still be laying carpet in his 40s just to turn you on. Isn't she penalizing him for his own upward mobility?
That is a valid counter-argument, but you have to look at the psychological subtext. I do not think Kimmi actually cares about the physical act of laying carpet.
You don't think so?
No. I think the soft hands comment is a metaphor for effort. When he was building cabinets, he was actively sweating, striving, and putting physical energy into their shared life. Now that he has achieved success, he has become complacent.
Ah, complacency.
His soft hands represent a lack of emotional and romantic effort. He wants the physical reward without putting in the heavy lifting to seduce his wife.
Oh, soft hands represent a lack of emotional effort. That is brilliant. It isn't about the carpentry at all. It's about the complacency. And that complacency really reared its ugly head when Carlos shifted the conversation to the topic of deal breakers. He brings up the fact that this entire friend group has watched so many of their peers go through brutal divorces caused by infidelity, and he asks Kimmi a very direct question.
Is cheating still a deal breaker for you?
Exactly.
Okay.
And Kimmi, demonstrating a healthy sense of self-worth, says yes without hesitation. She explains that it would psychologically break her because Maurice is the best man she knows, and if he shattered that specific pedestal, she would not be able to trust him again. She would initiate a divorce.
That is a completely logical, boundary-setting response.
It's a completely normal response. If my partner betrays my trust and cheats on me, I'm packing my bags. That is standard operating protocol for most functional adults.
One would hope.
But Maurice's reaction. I was pacing my living room in sheer disbelief. He gets incredibly offended. He acts genuinely wounded and personally victimized by this hypothetical reaction to his entirely hypothetical cheating.
He literally looks at her and says, I am deeper in this marriage than she is, precisely because she wouldn't even attempt to forgive him if he strayed.
The sheer audacity.
Yeah.
Let's unpack this absolute garbage logic. You are furious with your wife because she stated she would leave you if you committed a massive betrayal against her. Make it make sense.
It is impossible to make it make sense because it relies on manipulative gaslighting.
Totally.
Look at the psychological mechanism at play here. As Reddit user Money pointed out, Maurice may be a lawyer, but he is a terrible liar.
A really bad liar.
He is sitting on a television stage trying to play the victim of a crime he hasn't even committed yet. Why do men do this? They lay the groundwork for future forgiveness. He is testing the perimeter fences of her boundaries.
Testing the fences, wow.
He is effectively saying, if you really loved me unconditionally, you would stick around after I eventually destroy our vows. No, Maurice, that is not how conditional love or marital contracts work.
It is so transparent. He wants a pre-approved free pass for future bad behavior. But at the same time, as much as I am furious with Maurice, I have to be completely objective about Kimmi.
What's your read on her?
Kimmi was acting very out of character during this entire reunion segment. She was, as the internet says, doing the absolute most. She was incredibly combative, highly defensive, and just radiating this tense, guarded energy.
She was overcompensating. When you are internally unsure about the stability of your relationship, you project an exaggerated sense of confidence to mask the cracks.
Exactly. And Carlos, being the messy producer he is, even brought up the spicy Reddit theory that has been floating around the fandom.
The younger man theory.
Yes. People are aggressively speculating that Kimmi is only staying with a younger man like Maurice because she is terrified of being alone at this stage in her life. Now, Kimmi firmly and loudly denied this. She said she is perfectly capable of being happy alone. But you have to wonder if the exhaustion of managing this man is starting to break her down.
Think about the daily psychological toll. When you are constantly forced to manage a man-child who demands physical intimacy 5 times a week like a toddler demanding snacks, and then cries victimization when you establish a firm boundary against infidelity, it is going to erode your patience.
It really is.
She is deeply, fundamentally exhausted. But speaking of exhaustion, shall we transition our focus from a marriage struggling with rigid boundaries to a relationship that has absolutely zero boundaries whatsoever?
Oh, this transition is flawless. We are moving to the most baffling, whiplash-inducing dynamic in reality television history. Snark Squad, top off your drinks because Ken and Trisha are up next.
A structural disaster.
The absolute roller coaster that is this relationship. I like the vocabulary to describe it. So first of all, let us establish the baseline. Trisha's divorce from Marquez is finally legally finalized.
After 7 or 8 grueling years of litigation.
Exactly. After this legal battle dragging out, she is officially a single woman. But her relationship with Ken is an on-again, off-again structural disaster.
The operative phrase of the night for these two individuals was spinning the block.
Yes.
And the linguistic gymnastics Trisha attempted to use to redefine this cultural term deserves to be studied by linguistics professors.
It was pure comedy. So Carlos brings up the undeniable fact that Trisha admitted to spinning the block during one of her many dramatic breakups with Ken. Now, the entire cast knows what that phrase implies. The audience knows what it implies.
Everyone with an internet connection knows what it implies.
It means circling back to an ex for romantic or physical validation. But when pressed on the reunion stage, Trisha looks Carlos dead in the optical nerve and claims that spinning the block just meant conversating and going for a walk in the park with an old flame.
A leisurely walk in the park.
A wholesome Victorian-era stroll through the botanical gardens.
Well,
She explicitly and vehemently states there was no kissing, there were no inappropriate photographs exchanged, they merely went walking to catch up on life.
I have to admit, I deeply respect the pure, unadulterated audacity of trying to sell that absurd lie to a room full of reality television veterans.
It takes nerve.
Nobody just goes for a walk when they spin the block. Let's analyze the mechanism of her lying.
As our Reddit bestie pointed out, Trisha still lies when she knows cameras will uncover her lies.
She just can't stop.
She possesses a chronic, almost pathological inability to tell the unfiltered truth even when cornered. She went back to an ex, she entertained the romantic connection because she needed a safety net, and now she is trying to sanitize the narrative for a national broadcast so she doesn't look like the villain.
But wait, because the hypocrisy train does not stop at Trisha's station. The spotlight then aggressively pivots to Ken, and Ken casually confesses that during one of their incredibly toxic periods, he actually moved out of their shared home and into a separate apartment.
The escape apartment.
Yes, he claims this was to escape the toxic household energy for the sake of the children. And while he was living in this bachelor pad, he admits quite plainly that he slept with another woman.
But we must acknowledge his defense. He makes sure to clarify with an astonishing amount of unearned pride that he did not slide into this woman's direct messages.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He did not initiate the encounter. She came to his apartment.
Oh, well then. Let us immediately award this man the Nobel Peace Prize for fidelity.
A saint among men.
He was just sitting in his apartment, minding his own business, and oops, he accidentally tripped and fell into an act of infidelity. What kind of absurd defense mechanism is that? I didn't actively seek it out. I just passively participated in the betrayal.
It is the defense of a man who wants to abdicate all personal accountability. Passive infidelity is still infidelity. But the most baffling, mind-melting psychological dynamic of this entire segment is how the conversation ultimately resolves.
The apology.
Yes, the impossible apology.
Ken ends up apologizing to Trisha. Let me trace the timeline of this meta so I know I'm not losing my mind. Trisha spun the block with an ex.
Correct.
Ken moved into a separate apartment and literally engaged in physical intimacy with another woman.
Also,
And yet, somehow, through some dark magic, Ken is the one looking like a kicked puppy, apologizing to Trisha for breaking her trust, while she sits there looking entirely vindicated.
I was yelling at my television. Make it make sense.
It doesn't make logical sense, but it makes perfect psychological sense when you understand codependency.
Write that down for me.
Ken apologizes because he is terrified of actual final conflict. By taking the blame, he neutralizes Trisha's anger and resets the cycle. They are bound together by a mutual addiction to toxicity, they break up to create drama, and they reunite to experience the relief of the apology.
Wow, that is dark, but accurate.
But amidst all of this manipulative chaos, we do have to acknowledge a genuinely touching, albeit heavy, moment regarding Trisha's mental health. Carlos brings up Trisha's recent therapy journey.
My heart genuinely broke for her during this segment. It really did.
She went to a professional session with Dr. Francis, and within 5 minutes of sitting on that clinical couch, all of her defensive walls completely collapsed.
She just burst into tears, unpacking her severe childhood trauma, her deep-seated parental abandonment issues, and all of this profound pain that she clearly uses these chaotic, dramatic relationships to distract herself from.
It was such a raw, unfiltered breakthrough.
Yeah.
And, we sit here and give Trisha a hard time because of the constant lying and the relationship mess. But seeing that vulnerability, you realize you are looking at a deeply wounded inner child who is just frantically trying to find safety in unpredictable men.
It's a defense mechanism.
I was so incredibly proud of her for finally facing that darkness. And on a lighter note, can we also just mention that Trisha's son was shown on camera, and he is so handsome. He looks exactly like her. I love seeing the kids grow up and thrive despite the chaos of the show.
It was a rare, necessary moment of genuine humanity. It grounded the episode before we were forced to plunge right back into the absolute darkness of the friendship graveyard.
Ooh, the graveyard.
Which transitions us perfectly to Section 4, Destiny versus Tisha.
Snark Squad, pour yourselves another drink. This segment was heavy. This was the painful, public fracture of a sisterhood that we have watched build and strengthen over years.
And Tisha came out swinging with the ultimate, unforgivable verbal assault.
She really did. She looks at Carlos, she looks directly at Destiny, and she labels her with the phrase, "Don't trust that hoe."
Now let's examine the immediate backtracking. She hurled this grenade and then immediately tried to walk it back with the most nonsensical linguistic caveat imaginable.
It made no sense.
She says, "I don't actually think she's a hoe, but I stand by what I said." What does that fundamentally mean? You cannot hurl a deeply derogatory, highly specific insult and then claim, "I don't mean it literally, but emotionally, yes, you embody this insult."
Right.
It is a complete structural contradiction. She panicked because she realized how cruel she sounded on camera.
It was so messy. But we have to dig into the root cause of why Tisha is harboring this incredible volcanic fury toward Destiny. It all stems from Martel.
Surprise, surprise, a toxic man is the catalyst for ruining a female friendship.
Always. Tisha is absolutely livid because when Martel was making those deeply disrespectful, highly inappropriate jokes about Tisha's college past, Destiny was standing right there in the group, and she laughed. She audibly giggled.
A fatal error in a toxic friend group.
Tisha feels like Destiny completely failed to defend her honor, not just in that moment with Martel, but also later during an argument with Nell.
Tisha is operating under a flawed assumption of what friendship entails. She believes that friendship requires blind, militant, unthinking allegiance at all times, regardless of context.
Exactly.
But let's look at Destiny's defense, because she articulated some very valid counterpoints. Destiny claims she had absolutely no idea Martel was going to take the joke to that dark, disrespectful place about Tisha's history.
You can't predict what Martel's going to say.
And more importantly, in the heat of the moment, Destiny physically put her own body between Martel and Tisha to keep the situation from escalating into physical violence.
She shielded her. She was physically acting as a barrier to protect her friend. And then Destiny drops an absolute narrative bomb on the stage.
The ultimatum.
Yes. She claims that at Kimmi's barbecue, Tisha pulled her aside and delivered a literal point-blank ultimatum. Destiny says Tisha told her, "I either fight with you or I divorce Marcel."
And Tisha aggressively, vehemently denies this ever happened. She calls Destiny a bold-faced liar. Her exact defense is, "I know what I lie about, and I didn't lie about this."
Such a bad defense.
Let me analyze that statement from a legal and logical perspective. That is a terrible, self-incriminating defense. Openly admitting that you are a strategic, calculated liar does not exactly bolster your credibility in a current dispute over who is telling the truth.
It really doesn't. But wait, let me push back on Destiny for a second. Even if Destiny was physically shielding Tisha, she did laugh at the joke initially.
Cynical, yes.
If my supposed best friend giggled while a man was disrespecting my past, I would be deeply hurt too. Doesn't Tisha have a right to feel betrayed by that initial reaction?
She has a right to feel hurt by the laugh, yes. But her reaction is entirely disproportionate to the crime. And that brings us to the underlying psychological mechanism at play here.
Hit me with the psychology.
Why is Tisha reacting with such catastrophic anger? I echo exactly what the Reddit sentiment is diagnosing right now. Tisha is engaged in massive psychological projection. Tisha has all of these massive, unresolved marital frustrations, these deep-seated insecurities about Marcel, and these exhausting cheating allegations that constantly swirl around her life. Because she feels powerless to fix her marriage, she is taking all of that built-up corrosive rage and projecting it onto an easier target, Destiny.
Oh, that hits the nail on the head. Tisha confided deep, dark, vulnerable secrets to Destiny about her marriage. And because Destiny holds that sensitive knowledge, Tisha expects Destiny to be a compliant, silent soldier. When Destiny showed even a fraction of independence, or failed to show, quote-unquote, undying loyalty in that specific messy moment with Martel, Tisha snapped. She desperately needed a punching bag because she can't punch her husband, and Destiny was standing right there.
It is a tragedy of misdirected anger. Destiny did not spill those marital secrets. She kept them vaulted. But Tisha burned the bridge anyway to regain a false sense of control.
It's so sad to watch.
And right in the middle of this heartbreaking, complex friendship breakdown, Kimmi decides to insert herself with the most hypocritical, damaging logic of the entire broadcast.
Oh, this infuriated me. Kimmi chimes in to explain her own dynamic with Tisha, as if she is offering some profound wisdom. She sits on that stage and proudly proclaims, "Me and Tisha are cool because I just let Tisha be rude to me and I take it."
I was yelling at the screen. What kind of standard for human connection is that?
It is the standard of an emotional doormat. I am completely blasting this logic, and I stand firmly with Reddit user MJ4L2023, who perfectly called this out in the threads. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
It is basic human decency.
Why on earth are you bragging on national television about accepting emotional abuse just to keep the superficial peace in a friend group? That does not make you a superior, evolved friend, Kimmi. That makes you a terrible role model for establishing boundaries.
Exactly. I allow her to abuse me, therefore I am the better friend. It is a martyr complex masquerading as grace. And it just highlights how deeply dysfunctional this entire group's definition of loyalty and friendship really is. They equate suffering with love.
It's a trauma bond disguised as a sisterhood.
But if you want to analyze someone who absolutely refuses to be a doormat, someone who establishes boundaries and defends them with absolute fire, we must pivot to the MVP of the evening. We have to talk about Nell Fletcher taking absolutely no prisoners.
The transition from doormats to brick walls. Nell Fletcher came onto that stage in full, unyielding defense mode. It was an absolute masterclass in holding your ground against a coordinated group attack.
The showdown between Nell and the Scott sisters, Kimmi and Tisha, was intense and highly revealing, and it all ignited due to this absolute hypocrisy from Kimmi.
Set the scene for us.
Kimmi tries to insert herself into the argument again, and she turns to Destiny and condescendingly tells her to change your tone. She literally attempts to command a grown adult woman to lower the volume of her voice.
And Nell immediately jumps into the fray. She flat out refuses to let the Scotts police everyone's tone. And let's break down exactly what tone policing is, because this is a fascinating psychological tactic. Why do people do this?
Tone policing is a strategic, manipulative weapon used to derail a losing argument. Whenever someone brings up a completely valid logical point against the Scott sisters, whether it is Destiny or Nell making the point, the Scotts realize they cannot win on the facts.
So they deflect.
They shift the focus from what is being said to how the person is speaking. They latch onto specific, irrelevant details. You're yelling, your tone is aggressive, you used a shady word.
It's so frustrating to watch.
They execute this pivot to completely distract the audience and the speaker from the actual substance of the critique. It invalidates the other person's emotion to avoid accountability.
It is such a classic cowardly deflection tactic. I don't have a good factual counter-argument for the point you just made, so I am going to attack the volume of your voice so I can play the victim.
Precisely.
But Nell saw right through the smokescreen. She looked at them and basically said, "I am communicating my truth, and you are not going to talk down to me like a child." She matched Kimmy's combative energy beat for beat. When Kimmi started throwing veiled insults, Nell caught them and threw them right back with precision.
Nell was systematically dismantling their entire communication strategy live on stage. She stripped away their primary defense mechanism, and then she boldly addresses the rumor mill.
Yeah, the rumors.
The incredibly messy, damaging rumors that Nell somehow orchestrated a bizarre love triangle involving her own son, Lance, and Destiny.
Oh my gosh, the Lance rumors. That was such a dark narrative for them to push.
And Nell pushes back with incredible force. She argues quite brilliantly that the other women are actively ganging up on her to push this fabricated narrative purely because they need a distraction.
And what's the distraction?
Because they need the audience looking at Nell and her son, so nobody is paying attention to the public humiliation and the rampant infidelities of their own husbands.
It was a beautiful, lethal read. She essentially looked them in the eye and said, "You want to talk about my family to hide the blindingly obvious fact that your own houses are burning to the ground."
A flawless execution.
Praise Nell for holding her ground. She did not back down for a single solitary second, and she proved to everyone that she is a highly formidable force on this cast who will not be bullied into submission.
She certainly is. Which brings us, quite naturally, to our first structured segment of the evening, Snark Squad. It is time for Couple of the Week.
Okay, so Couple of the Week is the segment where we look at the absolute wreckage of these relationships and try desperately to find a single sliver of a silver lining amidst the chaos. And honestly, for the best relationship moment of the episode, I am awarding it to a very unexpected duo.
I am deeply curious to hear this justification. Proceed.
I am giving the best relationship moment to Ken cheering on Trisha.
Really? Them.
Listen, I know they are a structural train wreck. I know they spin the block, play some wistic games, and lie about going for wholesome walks in the park. But when Trisha was in the hot seat and she was getting intensely grilled by Carlos, struggling to defend her own contradictory actions, the camera quickly cuts to Ken. And he is just beaming at her. He is whispering, "Good job, kid. Go, kid." He looked genuinely deeply proud of her for standing up for herself against the interrogation. It was a surprisingly wholesome, supportive moment amidst all the toxic chaos.
I will concede from a purely observational standpoint that it was a moment of united solidarity, a deeply dysfunctional, trauma-bonded solidarity, but solidarity nonetheless.
I'll take what I can get.
Now, for the biggest surprise of the episode, I am throwing this right back to the Maurice and Kimmi segment. The biggest surprise, by a wide margin, was Maurice attempting to execute the most clumsy, illogical, argumentative pivot in reality television history.
Oh, the pivot was legendary.
He took a profound, emotionally loaded discussion about hypothetical infidelity, trust, and the core boundary lines of a marital contract, and somehow managed to turn it into a whiny, self-pitying complaint about his weekly sex schedule.
It induced physical whiplash. He was essentially saying, yes, I know we are discussing the sacred sanctity of our marital vows and the devastation of betrayal, but what about my Tuesday afternoon intimacy quota?
The selfishness was staggering.
It was shocking how completely tone-deaf and self-absorbed he was in that specific moment.
It was truly a masterclass in missing the fundamental point of a conversation. And finally, for our episode MVP, I believe we are entirely aligned on this verdict. Both of us agree the crown for this week unequivocally goes to Nell Fletcher.
100%. Nell takes the crown without contest. Refusing to be tone policed by the Scott sisters, explicitly calling out their manipulative deflection tactics, and defending her family's honor without breaking a sweat or losing her composure.
She was unbothered.
She was an unshakable fortress.
She deeply understood the assignment. Now, let's dial up the analytical chaos and move into our second segment, the marriage mess meter. This is where we scientifically rate the absolute disasters we witnessed on our screens, starting with biggest overreaction.
Oh, this is easily Maurice. I have to go back to him, because I am still not over the sheer audacity of his behavior. The man acted deeply, fundamentally wounded and betrayed that Kimmi wouldn't stick around to work it out if he hypothetically cheated on her in the future.
The hypothetical betrayal.
The literal tears welling in his eyes. The dramatic cracking in his voice. He was actively mourning a hypothetical divorce caused by his own completely hypothetical infidelity.
It was a Shakespearean tragedy of his own entirely fabricated making. Alas, my cruel wife will not tolerate my future imaginary cheating. Woe is me, for I am the true victim of the crimes I have yet to commit.
Exactly.
The overreaction was completely divorced from reality.
Okay, what about the best read of the night? Who delivered the most devastating truth?
The best read undeniably goes to Destiny. During that heartbreaking, chaotic argument with Tisha, Destiny looks at her and says, essentially, "You are just looking for someone to fight so you do not have to divorce your husband."
Chills. I had literal chills run down my spine.
It was a surgical strike. It cut straight through the ambient noise, straight through the distracting "don't trust that hoe" insults, and hit the exact painful psychological truth of the matter.
Boom.
Tisha is actively fighting every single person in her social circle so she doesn't have to turn around and fight the demons inside her own marriage. It was a brilliant, devastating piece of psychoanalysis delivered in real time.
So brilliant and so sad. Now, for the most awkward moment, I have to award this to Ken. Ken, sitting under the hot lights on national television, proudly and confidently clarifying to the audience that, yes, he absolutely slept with another woman in his bachelor escape apartment, but he absolutely demands the official record show that he did not initiate the encounter via direct message on social media.
The precise way he physically leaned forward in his chair to make sure Carlos fully understood that minute distinction.
Like it mattered.
Let me be abundantly clear, Carlos. I did not type a digital message to this woman. She approached my physical location. I am merely a passive recipient of unexpected infidelity.
As if that somehow makes the betrayal any better. It was so incredibly awkward you could feel the energy in the entire room flatline as everyone just stared at him like, bro, please stop talking. You are aggressively digging a much deeper hole for yourself.
And that profound lack of self-awareness leads perfectly into the final category for the marriage mess meter. Relationship most likely to implode.
It has to be Ken and Trisha. Look, I loved the therapy breakthrough with Dr. Francis. I really did. It was necessary. But this behavioral cycle they are trapped in, breaking up over minor conflicts, spitting the block with random exes, moving into separate apartments, engaging in passive infidelity, and then returning to each other with these flimsy, enabling apologies.
It's unsustainable.
It is a total, undeniable structural train wreck. To borrow your metaphor, their relationship is like a computer software update that keeps failing at 99%. They keep trying to reboot the system, but the hard drive is fundamentally corrupted. Therapy is a great first step, but the foundation is built on quicksand.
Exactly. Mathematically and psychologically speaking, a relationship cannot survive that many foundational structural failures. It is statistically doomed to implode. Which brings us to my personal favorite analytical segment of the night. Shady, snarky, or stupid.
The best segment.
We take the 3 messiest moments of the broadcast, assign a definitive verdict, and defend that verdict with our lives. Are you prepared?
I was born prepared for this. Hit me with the first moment.
Messy moment number 1. Tisha looking Destiny, dead in the optical sensors, calling her a derogatory hoe, and then immediately trying to backtrack by saying, "I don't actually think she's a hoe, but I firmly stand by it." What is the verdict?
Oh, this is stupid. The verdict is 100% stupid, and I will defend this verdict all day long.
Please do.
It completely undermines her own aggressive argument. If you're going to hurl a massive, friendship-ending insult on a reunion stage, you have to commit to the bit. Trying to walk it back but still claiming the emotional intent just makes you look highly insecure, intellectually confused, and like you do not actually possess a solid, factual point to make. It was a stupid, reactive, uncalculated emotional outburst that backfired.
I concur. It entirely lacks strategic vision or logical consistency. Messy moment number 2. Kimmi looking at Destiny during their little cross-stage spat and telling her with a completely deadpan expression that she has no grace left to give her. What is the verdict?
Ooh, this is A80. The verdict is undeniably shady, and here is my defense for this. Kimmi is deliberately delivering this line while pretending to hold the high moral ground.
Oh, the moral high ground is her favorite place to stand.
She utilizes this very elevated, spiritual, almost religious word, grace, to deliver an absolute, calculated dagger to Destiny's chest. It is the classic Southern Belle method of saying, I'm completely and utterly done with your existence, but wrapping the insult up in a polite, socially acceptable bow. It was pure distilled shade.
It was a lethal deployment of vocabulary. Finally, messy moment number 3. Trisha looking at the camera and claiming her date with her ex-partner was merely, quote-unquote, walking in the park.
I have to give this snarky.
I completely agree with that assessment. It is snarky because it relies on pure brazen audacity. She is sitting there looking fully glamorous under the studio lights and attempting to sell this little house on the prairie, wholesome, innocent park stroll narrative to an audience that knows exactly what the phrase spinning the block entails.
She thinks we're dumb.
She knows that we do not believe her narrative. We know that she knows we don't believe her, and yet she delivered the line anyway with a straight face. It is a snarky, cheeky little lie designed to mock the interrogation process.
She almost cracked a smile when she said it. She knew exactly what she was doing. Okay, Snark Squad, before we wrap up this massive cocktail spiral, we have to look into our reality TV crystal ball. It is time for next week predictions for part 2 of this explosive reunion.
Let us forecast the impending chaos. Regarding future confrontations, I predict that Part 2 is going to heavily feature Martel absolutely losing his cognitive grip on reality.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
He was sitting back, relatively quiet for most of this first episode, but we have already analyzed the teasers and the Reddit threads pointing out that he is lashing out because, quote, the grass wasn't greener.
The grass is never greener for him.
He is going to be incredibly defensive regarding his own failed relationships, and I foresee a massive, volume-heavy screaming match involving him and pretty much anyone unfortunate enough to make eye contact with him.
Yes, and for surprise alliances, I am officially predicting that Nell and Destiny are going to formally team up against the Scott sisters.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
We saw the structural seeds for this planted tonight. Nell aggressively defended Destiny against Kimmi's tone policing. Destiny is entirely alienated from Tisha. They're going to form a strategic alliance of outcasts, and they're going to come for Kimmi and Tisha's absolute necks next week.
It is the only logical strategic move available to them. As for relationship shakeups, I predict Kimmi and Maurice are going to hit a real impenetrable wall in their therapy journey.
Ooh, yeah.
This soft hands comment and the deeply flawed deal-breaker argument regarding hypothetical cheating, that tension was not resolved on stage. That resentment is actively simmering beneath the surface, and I think we are going to see a genuine critical crisis point for their marriage next week.
I feel that in my bones, too. The tension is just too thick to brush under the rug. Okay, time for the unhinged predictions. My totally unhinged wildcard prediction for the rest of this season's fallout. Trisha and Ken are going to elope before the end of the calendar year, purely to spite everyone who doubted them.
Elope.
Yes, they're going to embrace the chaos, run off to Las Vegas, and get married by an Elvis impersonator just to aggressively prove to the world that they are meant to be.
That is deeply unhinged, psychologically damaging, and yet highly probable given their track record.
Right. What's your unhinged prediction?
My unhinged prediction. I predict that next week, Carlos King is going to ask a question so incredibly long, so convoluted, and so multi-layered that it will actually require a full theatrical intermission, a commercial break, and a wardrobe change before the cast can even begin to formulate an answer.
Yes. They will literally need to roll out a whiteboard and a laser pointer just to track the timeline of the interrogations. Oh my goodness, Snark Squad, I'm emotionally exhausted. My mimosa glass is completely empty, my heart rate is elevated to a dangerous level, and I absolutely cannot wait to see the mess unfold next week.
It has been an arduous analytical journey, but before we sign off for the evening, we need to hear from the Snark Squad.
Yes. Get into the comment section right now. We demand answers to some very important questions. First of all, what is your zodiac sign? And did your messy horoscope call you out today?
Secondly, what is your chosen coping mechanism for the Sunday scaries right now? Are you drinking a mimosa with a decorative splash of orange juice, or are you actively fueling your anxiety with an aggressive espresso martini?
And most importantly, what algorithm trap are you currently stuck in? Are you watching wholesome golden retriever videos, or are you being judged by cat videos on TikTok? Let us know.
And of course, the ultimate question regarding tonight's show. Whose side are you taking in the Destiny versus Tisha fallout? Are you team undying loyalty, or are you team stop projecting your marital issues on me? Please drop your detailed thesis in the comments below.
Thank you so much for spending your Sunday night prep with our show. We love you so much. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this conversation with your absolute messiest friend. You know, the friend who definitely spins the block and tries to call it a casual walk in the park.
Stay hydrated, stay messy, and we will see you on the Snark side.
And Snark Squad, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over before Monday morning hits. Think about it. If Tisha is perfectly willing to destroy a multi-year friendship with Destiny just to avoid dealing with the failures inside her own marriage, how often do we burn bridges with our closest friends simply to avoid looking at the mess inside our own houses? Take a long, hard look at your own group chats before next week. See you then.